वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी, जगह जगह है अलम का वाही, दिलों पर तेरी है बादशाही। जगह जगह है अलम का वाही, दिलों पर तेरी है बादशाही। लबों पर तेरा है नाम गाजी, वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी। सलाम गाजी, सलाम गाजी, वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी। तेरे अलम का है हम पे साया, अलम पे साया है पंजतन का। तेरे अलम का है हम पे साया, अलम पे साया है पंजतन का। बुलंद तेरा मुकाम गाजी, वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी। अलम के जब से हुए साया, ज़मीन करबो बला पे मौला। अलम के जब से हुए साया, ज़मीन करबो बला पे मौला। तेरा है चलता निज़ाम गाजी, वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी। हुसैन मौला से प्यार करना, हुसैन पर जान निसार करना। हुसैन मौला से प्यार करना, हुसैन पर जान निसार करना। यही है तेरा पियाम गाजी, वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी। सलाम गाजी, सलाम गाजी, वफा का तू है इमाम गाजी। अलम के साए में आओ तो यूं लगता है आपने सर पर हाथ रख दिया गाजी। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
Ahsant, mashallah. Thank you so much, Sister Fizza, for that beautiful recitation, for her continued service, for her continued service to the Ahlul Bayt. Please recite another salawat. We now have a recitation of some poetry from Brother Ali Yasir. If we can all please welcome him forward to the minbar with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. बावाज़ बुलंदतर सलवात।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So this poem I've written basically for the goal to sort of discuss not just sort of like the apparent mission of Imam Hussein and his mission, alayhi salatu wassalam, but to show or to shed light on the esoteric side of his mission. So it's called The Way of Nobility. By the heart of Hussein, thy power rests. For what could it be? How does this manifest? Look to Yasin, to be it will be, gifted by the most merciful, that was his decree. By submission to his eternal light, look to the reminder he grasped with dedicated might. He gripped to his faith, he held on to his strength. On the journey of hardship, he trod with tiresome length. He sought mercy, sought compassion beyond his reach. In humble dwellings, he found solace to teach. The mightiest submitter, my Hussein, stands, surrendered to the quest, thy Lord's plan, to conserve thy peace from unsalvageable descent, from the clutches of the cursed one, whose spirit most malevolent. But through saddened eyes, a question may arise. Why not use such power, but content with his demise? Witness thy words, for which I will declare. Ponder it, reflect on it, and do not despair. Evil's trails, though insidious and sly, in combat, bested by nobility, right. Thy power is perfect, without need for supernatural might, for piety glows and shines in the mortal light. Within you and your world are qualities you adore, mesmerized by thy radiance, flutters your heart in awe. from the one who is necessary, for the qualities not rise from naught, a reflection of this creator, thy necessity most sought. Our mortal selves, though frail and weak, but immortal, powerful, with that spirit bequeathed. Manifest it, reign it, and see the world change. The fitrah I declare, over all it shall reign. The parable I gift is that of light and dark. Does darkness manifest in the way that light marks? The parable is the ore in the furnace's fiery embrace, where the iron tried by hardship reveals its true grace. The stone and the rubble had clouded its purity. The cherished metal is now seen more valuable in its entirety. The scorching forge, where holy men and prophets are purged and cleansed, melded by the anvil for God's magnanimous intent. Once tried with hardship to the point it cannot stand, the metal is now ready for the maker's hand. Weren't for this case, the trial is nullified. Goodness is unattainable except through miraculous ties. Nay, Hussein doth show goodness triumphs over every foe, the one who quenched the thirst even to his oppressors. For he abhorred to see their horses suffer such terror. This, the Husseini path, to trust the merciful's right. Submission must lay both day and night. His limbs grew weary, beaten by suffering's toll, yet within his heart an ember burned, refusing to fold. So steadfast he remained, faithful and strong, for hope he maintained as he journeyed along. For friends he made for console, and companions for nurture. Their love sustained him in a world which seemed to wither. Communities crumbled, families dissipated like dust, their pale forms laid low in a somnolent scent of musk. My message to you, O innocent ones, Hussein's Lord can only exist in justice and love. See that justice and love in every trial to come. Pray to him, but not for fear or heaven's plea, but pray for his worthiness of worship. Indeed, it's the worship of the ones who are free. All you love and all you yearn, thy Lord's essence you discern. His justice always stands, his will always well. In heaven's joy or hell's somber spell. With a guilty heart, for forgiveness pray, not for heaven's promise, but for his consciousness highest. Wrapped in his cloth, your soul to lay. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ahsant, mashallah. Thank you, brother, for that beautiful poetry and those heartfelt words. I'd now like to ask Brother Hassan Ali to come and recite his next installment of his nightly narrative describing the events of Karbala. If we can all welcome him with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The offers of security on the eve of calamity, the 9th day and the 10th night. On the 9th day, the time for Asr is passing. The night of the 10th is to follow. Zainab approaches her brother. Hussein is seated in front of his tent. He is taking a nap with his sword resting next to him. He wakes to a great clamour and hue. Ibn Sa'd and Shimr have advanced into Hussein's camp. Hussein informs Zainab, I just saw the Prophet in my dream, and he told me that tomorrow I shall be united with them. Shimr wants to isolate Hussein. He has a ruse to further weaken Hussein. He calls out for Abul Fadl Abbas and his brothers. O sons of my sister, come forth. For al-Banin Fatima al-Qalabiyah was from the same tribe as Shimr. Hussein is the epitome of courtesy, he sends Abul Fadl Abbas and his brother to see what Shimr has to say to them. He is distantly related to their mother. You are guaranteed security, Shimr offers Abul Fadl Abbas. Abul Abbas is a young man with the world at his feet. He spurns the offer and throws it back in Shimr's face. Abbas is the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the embodiment of loyalty. He was born for this day, unfazed at opposition. Hussein is his master, and he will never abandon him. On the eve of calamity, Hussein now sends Abbas to delay the battle till tomorrow, so he and his companions may spend the night in reflection. Hussein gathers his family and companions. He makes an eloquent address. He puts out the lamps to cover the embarrassment and asks the unfaithful companions them to leave. I lift from you the responsibility of allegiance and oath. The darkness has enveloped you. Thus free yourself from the whirlpool hiding in the waves of darkness. Then each of you may catch hold of each of my family members and disperse into the villages. They refuse to abandon Abu Abdullah. The camp of Hussein is abuzz with the glorification of their Lord and the recitation of the Holy Quran. They will fall upon death tomorrow. The journey continues. Tonight, we commemorate the infant boy, Hazrat al-Asghar, who was 6 months old when the tragedy of Karbala happened. Salawat.
Jazakallah, Brother Hassan Ali, for taking us to Karbala with those words. I'd now like to invite Brother Salman Hassan, who's going to be briefly talking about the personalities that we commemorate on this evening and hopefully take us all to Karbala with his words. Please welcome him with another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum, scholars, elders, brothers and sisters. Tonight is just a little bit of a masayib of Hazrat al-Asghar, also known as Abdullah al-Radhi, Abdullah al-Saghir. Ali al-Asghar alayhi salam, the smallest martyr with the loudest cry. Tonight we speak of the smallest shaheed of Karbala, whose voice was softer than the breeze, whose lips were smaller than the petals of a rose, whose cry still shakes the skies even today. Ali al-Asghar, Abdullah al-Radhi, the 6-month-old prince of Karbala, a child who never hurt anyone, whose tiny hands could not hold a sword, whose soft neck could not carry a shield, whose only weapon was his thirst. They say on the day of Ashura, when the heat of the desert burned even the shadows, when the cries of the children echoed through the empty tents, Hussein looked around. His companions were gone. His brothers were gone. His sons were gone. And then, in the silence, a small cry came from the tent. Ali al-Asghar was crying. His lips were dry, cracked under the sun. His tiny tongue stuck to the roof of his mouth, his eyes searching for his father. Every mother knows that cry. Every father knows the weight of a child looking at him, asking without words, "Will you let me die of thirst?" Hussein took Ali Asghar in his arms, wrapped him in a small cloth, kissed him on his forehead. He looked forward towards the tents and said, "Sakina, look after your mother. I will take your brother to the battlefield to get him some water." And then the last Hashimi to enter the battlefield was Ali al-Asghar. Hussein alayhi salam lifted his son high towards the enemy ranks. "O people, if I have done anything wrong, what is the sin of this child? If you have enmity with me, then at least give him a drop of water." They say the enemy was silent, for even the hearts of stone trembled, seeing a 6-month-old child, eyes half closed, lips trembling, the desert heat burning his delicate skin. But there are hurmalas in every era. And there was a hurmala in Karbala. He looked at this baby, took out a 3-pronged arrow, an arrow meant to kill elephants and horses, an arrow meant to pierce armor. He placed it in his bow. And then, the unthinkable. The arrow flew through the air, cutting the sky, heading forward towards the child who could not even raise his head to shield himself. It pierced the neck of Ali al-Asghar, severing it from one side to the other. Blood gushed out like a fountain in the arms of Hussein. They say Ali al-Asghar smiled, even as his blood poured from his neck, for he saw Rasulullah, Fatima al-Zahra, and the angels waiting to receive him. Hussein looked at this arrow, looked at his baby, and then looked toward the heavens and said, "O Allah, accept this sacrifice from Hussein." He took the blood of Ali al-Asghar in his hands, threw it towards the sky, and not a single drop returned or fell back. Even the sky could not bear to return the blood of the innocent. Then he took the lifeless body of Ali al-Asghar back to the tents. How do you tell a mother her baby has been slaughtered? How do you place a 6-month-old in a small grave dug with the back of a sword in the burning sands of Karbala? Ali al-Asghar gave his life for truth. His blood became a witness on the day of Ashura, declaring to the world, even the smallest will stand for justice. Even the youngest will become the voice of the oppressed. The hurmalas of today, there are hurmalas in Gaza, in Yemen, in Kashmir, in Lebanon, in Iran. They fire bombs upon babies, they shatter homes upon children, they cut the throats of innocents with the arrows of oppression. In Gaza, babies lie under rubble, their own bodies, soft, lifeless, the dust of injustice upon them. In Yemen, children starve while the world watches. In Kashmir, pellets blind the eyes of children who only wish to see freedom. In Lebanon and Iran, sanctions suffocate the cries of the innocent. And every time a child is killed, every time a mother holds her lifeless baby, the image of Hussein holding Ali Asghar returns. The world asks, what was Ali al-Asghar's contribution on Ashura? His contribution was his blood. His contribution was his innocence. His contribution was to expose the cruelty of Yazid and every Yazid that will come until the end of time. When you weep and wail for Ali al-Asghar tonight in the Masa'ib after Sheikh Jaffer's lecture, you are weeping for every innocent child whose blood is spilled unjustly. When you remember the arrow of Hurmala, you remember every bomb, every bullet, every starvation, every oppression that strikes the necks of babies today. Ali al-Asghar's cry is a call to the world. Where are the hearts that will protect the innocent? Where are the voices that will defend the oppressed? Where are the believers who will stand, even if they have no sword, with the truth? If Ali al-Asghar could give his life, if a 6-month-old could become a shaheed for justice, then what excuse do we have for our silence? Let us carry his message. Let us protect the children of today. Let us be the voices that silence the Hurmalas of this era. Ali al-Asghar was small, but his martyrdom was not small. It was the final piercing cry of truth in Karbala, the cry that still calls upon us. Will you let injustice continue, or will you rise for the truth like Hussein, like Ali al-Asghar? Labaik ya Hussein.
Please recite another salawat for the acceptance of Brother Salman's recitation. Brothers, as usual, I am just going to request very kindly that everyone comes as far forward as possible. There's plenty of space, especially here in the middle. Sheikh's going to be wondering what's going on with all of this space. So please, with a loud salawat, everyone please stand up and come as far forward, as close to the minbar as possible. Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. Jazakallah khair. I'd now like to request, brothers and sisters, that we all recite a Surah Al-Fatiha, especially for all of our marhumeen, the people that have contributed to this Majalis series, the Shuhada all around the world, our scholars, our teachers, the pillars of the Shia community all around the world, especially those people that were in this Majalis last year and are not with us this year. Al-Fatiha. I'd like to also request a dua sehat for Fayaz Hussein Jafri, who is currently ill. We pray that he is granted full shifa by the sake of Imam Hussein and the Ahlul Bayt, inshallah. Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. I'd now like to request our dear brother Sayyid Khamis Rizvi to come and recite and give bursa. If everyone can please welcome him with a loud salawat. Ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद बुलंद तरीन सलावत। हाय कब्र असग़र की बनाने बहुत देर लगी। हाय بنانے میں بہت دیر لگی، شہ کو ایک چاند چھپانے میں بہت دیر لگی، ہے قبر اصغر کی بنانے میں بہت دیر لگی، کچھ قدم دور ہے بازار سے دربار، مگر کچھ قدم دور ہے بازار سے دربار، مگر پھر بھی شہزادی کو آنے میں بہت دیر لگی، ہے قبر اصغر کی، شین ہر لاش کو جلدی سے اٹھایا، شین ہر لاش کو جلدی سے اٹھایا، لیکن لاش اکبر کی اٹھانے بہت دیر لگی، ہے قبر اصغر کی بنانے میں بہت دیر لگی، اور ٹکڑے چنتے ہوئے قاسم کے کہا مولا نے، ٹکڑے چنتے ہوئے قاسم کہا مولا نے، ہائے افسوس کے آنے میں بہت دیر لگی، ہائے قبر اصغر کی، ہے اس قدر پیاس سے سوکھا تھا इस कदर प्यास से सूखा था गुलुए सरवर, इस कदर प्यास से सूखा था गुलुए सरवर, शिम्र को तेग चलाने में बहुत देर लगी है कब्र असग़र की बनाने में, बहुत देर लगी। शह को एक चांद छुपाने में बहुत देर लगी है कब्र असग़र की।
मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद बुलंदतर सलावत।
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair, Khamis Bhai, for taking us to Karbala with those beautiful words. Please recite another salawat. I have a few quick announcements with everyone's permission before moving forward. Tonight at 11:30 p.m. there is going to be a midnight Majlis here at the Sheraton, inshallah. We will have English Masayib from Sayyid Muhammad Naqvi and Sheikh Jaffer Ladak, with Urdu recitations from Brother Khamis himself, Sayyid Sajjad Naqvi, and Musafara Sham, UK, Sangat. So everyone please is encouraged to attend. It promises to be a beautiful and heartfelt event. So I'm sure that everyone will take something positive from it. Brother Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. I've also been asked to go through the Ashura schedule for tomorrow here at the Sheraton. We are starting at 10:30 a.m. with the Amal of Ashura Day. At 1 p.m. there will be the Maqtal of Imam Hussein alayhi salam with Sheikh Jaffer Ladak. At 3:30 p.m. there will be Faka Shikni, where we will serve Tabarruk and Niyaz for everyone that is keeping Faka. And then at 5 p.m. there will be the Baramdagi of the Zuljana. So the horse of Imam Hussein, the symbolic horse of Imam Hussein, there will be a procession of it outside, and there will be some recitations also. And then the last installment of the day will be at 7 p.m. the Shami Ghariba Majlis with Sheikh Jaffer Ladak. So again, it's a packed schedule, but you're all encouraged to attend inshallah as much as possible. This is for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Bar Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. Without any delay, now I'd like to invite Brother Musa Naqvi to come and present about some of the work that MANCOM are doing, and he will also be introducing our dear Sheikh to the member, inshallah. If we can please welcome him with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you, sir. I want to stand here if that's okay, because just to be able to see. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. My respected scholars, brothers, sisters, children, My sincerest of condolences to you on this Shab-e Ashur. Feels surreal, but it is Shab-e Ashur. And my condolences to you on the tragedy of our master Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. It's been an absolute privilege and an honor for us as the organizers to be hosting this Majlis on the behalf of the Imam of our time, to welcome the mourners of his grandfather, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So before I say anything, I just want to say I humbly apologize to you, and I put my hands in front of you if any of us have done or said or inadvertently done anything during these 9 or so programs to have offended you or hurt you in any sort of way or have let you down in any sort of way. So please forgive us for any of our shortcomings as volunteers. We're just here to serve in the name of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, and we pray that Allah gives us this tawfiq to serve in the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam every single year till the time we die, and maybe we die and the breath on our last breath is the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. That's what we can wish for. I want to thank Ghareem Foundation. I want to thank Imam Mahdi Awareness Campaign. I want to thank Altrincham Mu'mineen Society. I want to thank Jamiatul Muntazar. I want to thank Just Hussein and all the other organizations in Manchester who have supported this series of programs and have collaborated with us in any way, shape or form, be it through giving their equipment or allowing their volunteers to join this team, or whether it's through financial help, through logistical help, or in any other way. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the team who have been working tirelessly in the background. So you get to see maybe myself and Zen or a couple of us coming up, but I want to acknowledge the AV team. I want to acknowledge Asad Bhai and his team. I want to acknowledge Mehdi. I want to acknowledge Sister Hania. I want to acknowledge Brother Raza. I'm sure I'm going to miss names. I want to acknowledge the photography team, Sister Shazia, Sister Kaval. I want to acknowledge Asif Bhai and his sons Shams and his son, the younger one, I'm forgetting the name now, Salawat. That's the one, Shayan. I also want to thank all the people who have helped minimize disruptions in the Majlis. I want to thank my ushering team, Sister Gulmina. I want to thank the fundraising team, which is Brother Noor and Sister Hina, for liaising with the Sheridan as well. I want to thank the management of Sheridan for being so cooperative with us. There's a whole host of people who have made this possible. Ahsan Bhai on the Tabarruk team, he's worked tirelessly with his van, going here, there and everywhere to make sure that nothing falls apart on that side of things. On the merchandising team, there's Brother Tahir and Sister Layla who've done a good job. On the registration team, there's Sayyid Asim Jaffrey, his family, his wife. He's here every single day, right at the start with his family and his children. So I want to acknowledge that effort that he has made. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of people. Maybe if I remember, maybe I can thank them tomorrow night. I also want to acknowledge Sheikh Jaffer and Sayyid Sajjad and Sayyid Khamis for their beautiful contributions and recitations. Please join me in thanking everybody who has contributed, donated or helped in this majalis in any way by reciting a warm and loud salawat. Now, before I hand over to Sheikh, I have a very small presentation that I want to run through. We unfortunately don't get the opportunity to talk about our work very much, and the programs and lectures that we organize as MANCOM, as the Manchester Community and Youth Project, is only perhaps 1/4 of our work. 75% of our work remains in other areas, remains unseen or perhaps underappreciated. So this is a sort of a summary of our activities in the last year or so. If I could have the next slide, please. I'm just going to touch on these points, just going to give you an overview of who we are, our performance, the challenges that we face, some of the key achievements, and some of our future aspirations, and how perhaps members of the audience can get involved and be part of this, if this is something that you think worthy of being part of. Next slide, please. Just to let you know, I'm going to come even closer because I can't see from there. So we were founded in 2016 as a youth organization to allow young people in the community to use a platform of charity work as a way of learning different skills. That's where we originated from. It was for young people to develop their social, spiritual, mental, spiritual capacities. We were registered as a charity towards the end of 2016. This is our 8th year in operation. Over the last 8 years, we have given over £1.5 million in charitable causes to different projects to support different mu'mineen. So as a small, humble, charitable organization run by the youth of this community, I think that is a fantastic achievement. And just last year, our turnover was just over £300,000. That was last year. This year, this financial year, it has been, I think, £480,000 we're hitting already this year. And only a quarter of it is in programs like these in Majalis. Bulk of our work, as I said, is charity work, bread and butter charity work and helping people. And our motto is to strive to serve the community, and we've done so through food drives, clean water initiatives, camps, through loans, through grants, through educational support, through emergency relief, through sponsoring orphans, and basically empowering wherever mu'mineen are, Shia mu'mineen, making sure that they're not in difficulty, or if they have a difficult circumstance that they're going through, resolving that for them, being there, if I can use the word mushkil kusha, being their helper, being their support in their time of need, somebody who they can fall back on. Next slides. This is just summarizing our financial performance. £480,000 in the last financial year. 70% of this is through donations through people like yourselves. So it's through filling sadaqah boxes like these. It's not very hard. Everybody can contribute. Everybody can contribute £1 a day or something like that. And it all trickles down, adds up. So in this sense, everybody is in a position of being able to do something. Don't feel that you're helpless. Don't feel that we require hundreds of thousands of pounds from each of you to make a change. Even the 50p that you take out each morning as sadaqah for the Imam of your time, for example, it goes on and it does something really powerful in the end. You can see only 8 to 10% of our funding is through gift aid. So if you have donated in these nights for the Majlis, and if you are a taxpayer, if you paid to this government and you want your tax not to be paid to the government, but you want the tax to return back to the community, and you want control over how that is spent within the community, then go downstairs to the fundraising stall. Something very simple that you can do. Fill out a gift aid form, declare that you're a taxpayer, and tell us, and then we can recover the tax back from the government, and we can control it and spend it how we want to spend it in terms of this community. So if you're not happy with something that the government is doing, and you are giving your charity, then gift aid is one of those ways to recover the taxes that you have paid back, allowing our grassroots organizations such as MANCOM to have control over that spending. Next slide. So just to summarize the 3 key achievements over the last year: the emergency relief, where we responded to the crisis in the Middle East, the war. Some of you got involved, where we sent shipping containers to the Lebanon. You might recall, we collected baby milk, nappies, sanitary things. We booked a container and we shipped it off. So that was one of the key things that we did. We responded to different natural disasters. So for example, a few years ago, there was a massive flood in Pakistan. We built a number of houses there. So that's something that this community was able to do. Then obviously every year the month of Ramadan comes, and in that we distribute food parcels to struggling families in Pakistan, in Iraq, and other parts of the world. And each pack is basically tailored to meet the needs of the family, keeping their dignity intact. So we know, we can identify. In Urdu there is a word called Safed Posh. Safed Posh means that people who are in need, but perhaps they are feeling embarrassed of the fact that they are in need, and they don't identify themselves, they don't come forward. So through our network of volunteers, we go and identify these kinds of people who want to preserve their dignity because that's important to them, but yet they're still in need because of whatever circumstance they're going through. And then through our network of volunteers, we identify and discreetly, as is the sunnah of Imam Ali, as is the sunnah of Imam As-Sajjad alayhi salam, in the middle of the night, we make sure that the supplies reach them. So that's something that we are doing on an ongoing basis. On the education front, we've got a number of schools. Our latest project that we did last year is called the Usta School Project. Usta Muhammad is a very impoverished village in Balochistan in Pakistan. The kids are simply having their education in an open plot of land with rough floor, no roof. So we're in the process of having a school constructed in Usta Muhammad for the children of Balochistan. And these are some of the pictures of some of the activities that we've done. In terms of 24-25, obviously we had the Muharram last year with Sayyid Mahdi Mudarrisi right here at the Sheridan, and we're here again. And we endeavor to be here next year as well. We have confirmed and booked Sayyid Mustafa al-Mudarrisi as the speaker for next year's Muharram program. So the planning for that has already begun, even now, even though we're a year away. So this is a relationship that we want to build with you, with the community. We want to provide a cradle-to-grave service. So something that we're exploring is on, sorry, go back on the other slide. Funeral and burial services, where we had Sheikh Jaffer come earlier in the year, where he delivered a couple of workshops on how the burial and funeral process works from an Islamic perspective. the ghusl facilities, what are the ahkam. So we want to do these series of workshops. Fatimiyya, as you know, I've already announced, we have Maulana Sayyid Ali Rada Razwi coming in November, emergency relief, Lady Khadija Majalis in Ramadan, and then other events. For the last Imam Sadiq event, we had Sayyid Muhammad Baqir al-Qazwini, if you remember, right here at the Sheraton. Next slide. Now, something that we do is we commemorate and we celebrate members of this community who have passed away in the last year. We want to have an element of a local history going. A lot of our marhumeen in the graveyard, they lie in an unknown grave, or maybe not many people know that this was a Shia person when they go to the graveyard. We're in the process, in fact, of creating a directory of all the mu'mineen who pass away and have a picture and a biography and an obituary about them. But more than that, we want to carry out sadqa jariyah and good deeds in their names in an ongoing basis. There's two examples on the slide in front of you. One is the memorial fund that we have going in the name of our dearest brother Mudassir Ali Hassan, which was started by his brother Zan and his family. And this was a complete shock to us as a community, the loss of this beloved boy who was the life and soul of his family and of the community. We collected over £26,000 as a community in his name, and we're in the process of constructing sustainable water wells and solar wells in his name. Mudassir was actually present in this very majlis last year. So through these nights, we've been putting his picture up every single night because we feel his absence, but yet we want him to be part of this majlis, and we don't want him to be forgotten. And similarly with Auntie Najma Mirza, she was here last year. We might have seen her on a wheelchair, and unfortunately she also passed away, and she died very recently. So her son set up a memorial fund through us. Again, this was to support orphans, and we want to honor the marhumeen of our community in this way, and MANCOM is an opportunity to do that. So the way we work is we have a community survey. We did one last year, and we're going to do one at the end of these majalis. We'll collect your feedback in terms of the needs of the community and feedback in terms of how these programs have gone. And then we'll try and use that feedback to tailor our next year's program according to what you tell us, to make it more democratic and to factor in what you say. Then on a weekly basis, there's an email address. Anybody in the community can refer a case to us and tell us, this is a moment in need, they know them. We will work with them, and we will say, give us the documents and we'll verify the case, and then we'll work with them to basically fulfill whatever once just a young person in this community myself. So if you're a young person in this community and you think that you can't do anything, then I don't think you should think that way. Come and talk to some of our volunteers, see how you can get involved. At a strategic level, you know, we want to become sustainable. We want you to partner with us through signing up a direct debit. What that does is it gives us a stability of income. It allows us to plan in a stable way. So there's standing order forms, but the easiest thing that you can do, you can take one of these sadaqah boxes and you can take one of those standing order forms, look at our bank details, open your banking app and think to yourself, what is it that you can, because this work is all the work of the Imam of our time. It's all the work of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. It's all being done in the name of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. You can think to yourself and you can say, okay, I can afford £5 a month. I can afford £10 a month. And you set up that direct debit and that will be your link. That will be your attachment. That will be your contribution. And you can even reference it on your bank for the sake of Imam Hussain. And when you see your bank statement, you know that you have given something in the name of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And if you want to follow up of what happens to that money, you can become a part of our team. So we want to organize community-centered events, quality events, highly consistent, meaningful events, which raise awareness and bring people together and create a sense of belonging. And also, where we want to do this in a digital sphere as well. So you might have followed us on our social media, you might have followed some of our stories on Instagram, etc. We regularly update. But if you are a professional in this field, if you have good skills on social media, then this is something that we need in terms of your expertise. Again, strategically, that's what we want to achieve. Next, please. Again, a cradle-to-grave service, access to safe and clean drinking water, empowering mu'mineen, sustainable fundraising and stable financial growth. This is just a picture that we had as a volunteering event with Maulana Sayyid Ali Raza Rizvi. He stood there in the middle. I don't know if you can see it from the back. But we want the community to be connected with our leaders and our ulama, and we keep our ulama on board in terms of guiding some of our work. Next slide, please. So I guess our final appeal, I think this is the last slide, is that join us, make a difference, be a part of something meaningful, support us through regular giving, or if you can't give, then volunteer and spread the word. And inshallah, together we can build a community that is resilient and something that we can be proud of, and something when the Imam of our time reappears, we can hand over to him and say, oh Imam, we did this in your way, and please accept this from us. Salawat. Lastly, just to say that in terms of our fundraising target for these majalis, we're really grateful. We had almost £4,000 donated yesterday. So in terms of the target we were at, I think £11,000 left of the 15 that we were aiming for. But I think with your generous support, we'll get there. Even if you think that you give £10, £20, we'll get there, inshallah. And just to let you know, in tomorrow's program, with the arrival of the Zuljana at around 5:30 p.m., please don't use the front car park, because that front area will be used for Azadari, Matamdari, and the Baramdgi, or the arrival of the Zuljana. And if you park in the second car park, and inshallah, we can have a good attendance and a good pursa that we can give to the Imam. Without further ado, and without taking any further time, I'd now like to invite Sheikh Jaffer Ladak to address us on this Majlis on the night of Hazrat Ali al-Asghar. Please welcome him by reciting a warm and loud salawat.
صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. Kindly open your Qur'ans to chapter number 7, Surah al-A'raf, ayah number 157. Surah al-A'raf, chapter number 7, ayah 157 will be the ayah that we need for tonight's discussion. To ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the appearance of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا الممجد بشير المصدق المصطفى الأمجد محمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الله على الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الذين يتبعون الرسول النبي الأمي الذي يجدونه مكتوبا عندهم في التوراة والإنجيل يأمرهم بالمعروف وينهاهم عن المنكر ويحل لهم الطيبات ويحرم عليهم الخبائث ويضع عنهم إصرهم والأغلال التي كانت عليهم. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Awaited Savior of humanity, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, my respected teachers, elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا أبي عبد الله الحسين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. What makes it possible for a human being to shoot a child with an arrow in its neck? What makes not just one individual, but a collective army of maybe 30,000 individuals see this event, cheer it and champion it, and each and every one of them lose their humanity that allows them to consider this act as something noble and righteous? Have you ever sat down and just contemplated such a question? The maqtal of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, one of its crescendos is that arrow that is shot in a 6-month-old baby, Abdullah al-Radi', or more famously known as Ali al-Asghar. Imagine you were there on the 10th of Muharram. Whether you were on one side or another, whether you were an observer, a passerby, what would have gone through your heart at that moment when you saw that arrow fly through the air, land into the neck of this baby, pierce into the arm of its father, him have to pull out that neck, pull out that arrow from its neck, this child flap its arms in pain until they see Abu Abdullah al-Hussein incapable of going back towards the tents. Ask yourselves this question. What has to happen to the mind, to the heart? What degeneracy, what level of being co-opted into a mindset allows such a crime to be committed. We could ask that about so many crimes in exactly the same way. Right now, what allows a people to actively starve 2 million people in Gaza and every day see maybe 80 or 100 or 50 being gunned down just for the crime of seeking food, and to champion it, and to make excuse for it, and to laud it, and to continue it? Can you see? The reality is that so often when we grew up, we questioned ourselves and we said, this narrative of Karbala, could it really be true? Could such crimes be committed? And then in our own lifetimes, we saw things unfold in front of our eyes, like ISIS, for example. For example, like the IOF, or indeed people championing the massacre of people in Palestine every single day. And we wonder what happens to the human being to be so badly corrupted in their mind and in their heart. What has to occur? On the battlefield, on the 10th of Muharram, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh, attempted to reason with his opponents in many different ways by speaking to them and trying to get them to revert back to their humanity or revert back to their theology. At times, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam would say to them, "Am I not the grandson of your prophet and messenger?" He said, "Yes, you are." He said, "Am I not the grandson of Khadija, the greatest of women in Islam?" "Yes." "Am I not the son of Fatima al-Zahra, the greatest woman in Islam?" He said, "Yes, you are." "Is it not that it is my uncles Hamza and Jaffer who are in heavens, known as Sayyid al-Shuhada, one who flies with wings given to him by Allah?" "Yes." "Then why do you kill me?" "We kill you out of hatred for your father Ali ibn Abi Talib." Can you see? Something has happened to them in their mind that justifies their massacre of him and his family in such a brutal and criminal way. They allowed it to be justified within their minds. Every other weight of evidence that was presented to them on this side was less weightier than this one argument: we kill you because we hate your father. On the 10th, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam approaches them and he gives to them a very famous line, which I wish to be able to use as the focus of our discussion tonight, as the last statement that we reflect on together from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in this series. Imam alayhi salam says the following: "In lam yakun lakum deen," if you do not have faith, if you do not have religion, وَكُنْتُمْ لَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ, and you do not fear the hereafter, the world to come, فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ, then at least be free people in your world. If you don't believe in deen, if you don't truly believe, and you don't really fear the consequence of your actions, then at least revert back into yourself and think deeply about whether you are performing what you are performing because you are free to perform what you are performing, or whether you have been somehow beguiled into this. You have lost your own freedoms, and as a result, you are doing nothing more than copying what has been programmed into you. What a statement from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. That is not only for that era, but for all periods of time. And not only for people who are lost within such criminal actions, but the notion that all of us have to revert back to thinking about whether I am truly free or not, or whether my life has been shaped in such a way that I am just programmed to repeat and regurgitate the types of things that have been curated for me, spoon-fed to me across my life, is a lesson that every single one of us needs to be able to reflect on. Kindly open your Qur'ans from chapter number 7, Surah al-A'raf, ayah number 157, and you will see that this was no less one of the loftiest objectives of the Holy Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Where the Prophet is given a specific task, and that is to break the shackles that were on the people of that time, to give them that ethical, to give them that intellectual freedom to once again become human rather than being controlled by something or someone else or a system that made them into puppets for the things that they were ultimately led to do. The ayah says the following, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. الَّذِينَ يَتَّبِعُونَ الرَّسُولَ النَّبِيَّ الْأُمِّيِّ. Those who follow the apostle prophet, the Ummi, the person from Mecca. الَّذِي يَجِدُونَهُ مَكْتُوبًا عِنْدَهُمْ فِي التَّوْرَاةِ وَالْإِنْجِيلِ. Whom they themselves find written down in the Torah and in the Injil, that prophet that was mentioned to them in the previous revelations and scriptures. What is the duty of the prophet? What is the objective of the prophet? How can we measure whether the prophet's movement is successful or not? يَأْمُرُهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَاهُمْ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. He enjoins them towards good, forbids them evil. وَيُحِلُّ لَهُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. And he makes lawful for them the good and the pure things, and he makes unlawful for them the impure things. وَيَذَأُ عَنْهُمْ إِصْرَهُمْ وَالْأَغْلَالَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. And the Prophet lifts the burdens that were upon them. Those burdens that were so heavy, that dragged them down, that made them live the way in which they did, and break the shackles by which surrounded them, that fettered them in their thinking, fettered them in their behaviors. You all know, prior to Islam, the Arabs systematically used to bury their daughters alive. There was unremitting violence against women. There was the systematic gazumping and guzzling up of the wealth of orphans. There was the systematic prostitution of female members of the family and servants in order for their masters to be able to gain wealth. Every type of crime that you can imagine was normalized at that time. The Prophet had to be able to lift those things that stopped people from being able to break out of those deeds. He had to break the shackles from them to help them to think freely once again. This is what the Prophet endeavored to do. When the Prophet says, Husaynun minni wa ana min al-Husayn, Don't for a second think that that mission did not extend to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam as well. It did. What did the Imam say in this statement? If you do not believe in any deen, nor do you fear the consequences of your actions in the hereafter, then as human beings at least be free individuals in your world. Do not be puppets for Banu Umayyah, thinking that because you have been told something or that they act in a certain way that you must follow the same crimes that another is committing. Tonight, inshallah, what we want to be able to do is reflect on such a statement from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and try to see how we can understand this at the time of the Prophet, at the time of Imam, and even in the times in which we live in. How is it that a people, anyone from any part of the world, even until today, you and I sitting here, we can end up becoming puppets for a system that is ultimately out there to destroy our mind, destroy our thinking, our independence, our freedom in its entirety. If you and I take nothing away from Karbala, at least take away that you are free human beings and that it is necessary for us to be able to return back to that God-given freedom that we were born with. In the name of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, please recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. His Eminence, Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, may Allah preserve him for us, had a gathering in which he talked about how Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam saved Islam. These are individuals who they themselves were free at one point. They wrote to Imam al-Hussein, they called him, they even, as I mentioned on a previous night, they boycotted Salatul Jama'ah in Kufa as a demonstration of their willingness to avoid anything that was established by the government of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. At that time, boycotting Salatul Jum'ah was probably the highest act that could be done. It's not an ordinary thing to do that act. It was their way of saying, can you see how ready we are? Even Yawm al-Jum'ah we will not attend, something that is normally considered wajib because the sermon is being given by a despot. That's how free they had become. Only in the space of a few weeks would the very people that were strong enough to boycott Salatul Jum'ah, that had as much political insight, religious insight to boycott Salatul Jum'ah, were the very same ones that could champion an arrow being struck into the neck of a 6-month-old baby. I ask you, how do you go from there to there in the space of a few weeks? Have you ever thought about this question? Maybe it's difficult to even find an answer. His Eminence Sayyid Khamenei presents a picture by explaining just how totalitarian the system of Banu Umayyah was. Not only for the purpose of you understanding it in history, but to understand when a society becomes a dominating society over you. When it becomes a tyrannical society over you. When it becomes a totalitarian society over you, where one by one your freedoms are taken away until ultimately there is nothing left for you but to become part and parcel of the crimes that are being committed in that society. Sayyid Khamenei says the following, and I'll read to you a small part of his sermon, and I want you to see how even the strongest of individuals can ultimately lose their independence altogether. He says, we are approaching Muharram. Muharram is held in such high regard for two reasons. One is because it commemorates an unparalleled event in history. Not unparalleled merely in its tragedy, sorrow and grief, though certainly it is unparalleled in that way, but more so in its epic nature and the manifestation of human excellence and the excellence of the people of truth. He continues. If you examine the situation of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, you will see that his movement, you will see his uprising with these particular characteristics are unparalleled. We've had many uprisings in history, but this uprising with these characteristics are unparalleled. But the situation was such that the domination of falsehood was also unparalleled. Do you see the point? Goodness was at its peak. I know not of companions like you, Imam said. But at the same time, I know not of a people that could throw an arrow into the neck of a 6-month-old baby. It's going to be the same when our Imam comes as well. Don't think that it's only going to be evil that is overcoming goodness. That's not our belief system. That's not our faith. We do not seek to create Armageddon and destruction. Evil will be at its peak, but goodness will also be at its peak. People will be struggling to be able to overthrow that evil, the same way in which you see it today unfolding in your eyes. The situation was such that the domination of falsehood at that time had full control, increasing day by day with absolute cruelty and shamelessness. Enjoining good and forbidden was no longer possible for the ordinary person. Even strong people had succumbed to the system of domination. He says in his speech. The atmosphere of fear was so overwhelming that even those who used to call for good and forbade evil avoided being in such positions. Even bold and outspoken individuals felt the pressure of domination upon them, such that they pulled back from the arena of speaking out. He continues. Take for instance Abdullah ibn Zubayr, a bold and audacious man, yet even he tried to avoid confrontation with the Khilafat's apparatus. That's how dire the situation was. Or consider someone like Abdullah bin Jaffer, the nephew of Amir al-Mu'mineen, his son-in-law, the husband of Sayyidah Zainab. Even he tries to gain proximity to the Khilafat's apparatus. Because nothing else seemed imaginable at that time. Someone like Abdullah ibn Abbas adopted a kind of social seclusion, withdrawing from society, sitting silently in a corner. These were people who were normally known to be vocal, had eloquent speech, were prominent personalities. They were the children of the elite of Banu Hashim and the Quraysh, renowned young men since the earliest days of Islam. Each of whom had a legacy of honor behind him, yet they dared not enter into the arena due to the suffocation and domination of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Let alone the ordinary people. This wasn't just in Sham, but even in Medina. Medina itself was crippled and shackled at that time. Now compare the situation in Medina to other places that lacked the centrality of Medina, the history of Medina. These were the conditions of an extremely severe situation. In this context, Imam al-Husayn's uprising was meant to shatter this domination. His movement was to break that oppressive power. It was never intended to gain power. It was never intended for gaining power. It was to shatter those powers that were upon. This is how Sayyid Khamenei explains the movement of Karbala. Understand the extent of the domination upon people when even the khawas, the exceptional individuals of society, were afraid and dominated at that time, completely unable to see right from wrong, their duties in that particular time. Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam in the statement says, at least be free people in your dunya. Kunu hararan fi dunyakum. It is necessary for us to explain this word dunya, especially the way in which Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam have given us the meaning of the word dunya. In one hadith, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi says the following: Ad-dunya ma'dinu ash-sharr wa mahallu al-ghurur. The world, this world is the origin of evil and a place of deceit. Mahallul ghurur. Understand this point. When we say it is the place of deceit, what we mean is that the structure of the world allows for the human being to undergo deception such that they don't realize what is actually correct in front of them. In every sphere of life, people seek to be able to deceive you in order to be able to take advantage of you, to be able to manipulate you, to remove you from the God-given freedom of thought that you have, from the ability to see what is right and wrong, those things that you are born with in your innate nature, in order to make you a puppet of that society or of that civilization. They have to be able to deceive you and cover you in every shape. This happens to us from the time in which we are even children. And it's necessary that we think about the different ways in which this world and its different institutions try to beguile or to deceive us, to remove us from the freedoms that we have from our own mind and from our own heart. It happens from the time in which we are children. There is an institution by the name of the Kaysar Family Foundation. And they did a study, particularly on TV and the types of adverts that children are bombarded with. Children's TV, which is normally considered to be around 12 and under, they watched thousands, tens of thousands of hours of children's TV from various different TV stations, and then started to look at the advertisements and record the types of advertisements that were being bombarded to children. And what the foundation and its research came up with was that 50% of all adverts that were bombarded to children were actually adverts for food. Now, what do you think those adverts were? Were they offering you apples and bananas? What do you think? No, of course they weren't. What was it? It was all fast food. It was all junk food. It was all colas. Every type of food that would be harmful to a developing human being. 50% of all the adverts that they would see was in this sort of area, specifically of these types of foods. As they did their analysis, and of course as other organizations have explained, that the purpose of this kind of advertisement is to make the child be hooked onto these sorts of food from young. Basically, get them whilst they are young. You don't want to wait till a person is 35 to start making them addicted to crisps and chocolates and McDonald's and Burger King and Pizza Hut. What you want to do is to make sure that they go when they are 4 years old and 6 years old, and it normalizes it throughout their life, so that by the time that they are adults, it is so much part and parcel of their life that they don't know anything other than this fast food junk. So where do they start programming people from? From the time in which they are children. Many of us, we just stick our children in front of the TV, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 8 years old, 12 years old, and not only do we hand over parenting to the TV, we don't realize exactly what is being fed into our own children. There's another study, and I encourage you to Google this, parents with young children. It's called the NAG effect, N-A-G, NAG effect. Advertisers studied the different ways children nag their parents for something. Toys, fast food, gifts, whatever it may be. And they came up with the conclusion that there are 4 types of ways that a child may nag their parents. The words that they use, the sounds that they use, how long that they are willing to nag in order to be able to get something. And so psychologists handing this piece of information over to advertisers learnt how long it takes for a parent to give in to a child's nagging, to a child's crying, to a child's wailing for something. And then paired that with the way in which the advertisement would actually shape itself to encourage the child to ask their parent for something. Knowing that the parent would actually give up over a period of time, over an actually objective period of time. And your child is actually programmed through the advertising, through what's called the nag factor that psychologists have understood. Understand that there is nothing that you see in this world that is not directly created and curated to make you addicted to it, in order for the benefit of that corporation, in order for the benefit of something other than yourself. Know that there is nothing out there. Pringles, as an example, once you pop, you can't. Some of you know it, huh? Some of you are really addicted to it. Look at that slogan. Once you pop, you can't stop. The slogan is encouraging you to be addicted to it. Do you know that they can curate the exact amount of salt in one of these crisps, in one of these chips, to ensure that it keeps you hungry and thirsty enough to be able to come back for more? Every part of it is curated through chemical in order to ensure that you want it again and again and again and again. Don't think for a second that we are free even when it comes to our stomachs. We are not, unless we learn to break from those things ourselves. It's not just food. The world of media and the way in which things are curated for you in its language is there to ensure that you believe what you are being told. There's an individual who is by the name of Frank Luntz, and I often mention him, and I preface and I say that in my humble view, he is probably one of the most evil people to live in this world today. Google him, Wikipedia him. He was, or is, an American pollster, a Republican Party pollster. So basically it's his job to understand the way in which you and I think, and then provide that back to the Republican Party so that they create policies in a way that manipulates you. He gets you into a polling room, he asks you certain things, he uses language to see how you respond to this word or this word, and ultimately, once he understands the psychology of something and how you will fall for that thing, he then sells that information to the Republican Party in order to ensure that you and I fall for the language that they use. You can find out about this yourself. You can Google this. You can see this on his Wikipedia page. Frank Luntz, during the presidency of George W. Bush, he went to them with a certain particular issue. Bush said that we, the Republican Party, are losing people in the United States of America. Everybody knows about the issue of global warming. Everybody knows the issue of the potential loss of this planet being uninhabitable within 50 years. And so people are moving away from the Republican Party towards the Democrat Party. And so we need your assistance. Frank Luntz gathered people day after day, week after week, polled them to see what their views were. And then he clocked on to something that became the means of changing history until today. He returned this information back to the Republican Party and said the following, and said, all you have to do is change the words that you are using, and once again people will be with you. You see, by now, the words global warming, people know to be negative. So the moment people say, scientists say, that there is a consensus of 99.8% of global scientists that say, we are destroying the planet, warming the planet, it will become partially uninhabitable within the next 50 years, don't use the word global warming, because everybody knows the meaning of this. You, the Republican Party, have to switch the word to a word that is neutral, and then people will no longer be fearful of the same event. What's the word? He told the Republican Party, use the word climate change. The climate changes, right? Sometimes the weather changes. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's raining. So just the way weather changes, people will mix that with the word climate, and they will say climate change isn't a bad thing because every day the climate changes. So if I see it hot tomorrow and hotter tomorrow and hotter tomorrow, that's just the way in which it was. He told the Republican Party, just change the words. As a result of it, the Republican Party was once again able to dominate the thinking and the minds of people. 2 words. It changes the course of humanity because one individual learned how to manipulate people with just the change of one sentence. Right now, you've all seen that there is an organization that is actually responsible for delivering the aid inside Gaza. Have you seen that? Yes? That organization is an American organization that has been given about $30 million to set up maybe 4 aid points to allow Ghazans to come to this location and obtain aid. You've all heard of this. It's not new to you. You know that it's not being done by the illegal, illegitimate regime. It is being done by an agency, correct? Have you ever thought to yourself, just take a step back, be free thinkers, be free people. Have you ever thought to yourself why the Zionist regime would agree to not be the ones controlling the aid and giving it to an American foundation? Anyone? Have you thought about it? What the reasoning is? Do you think for any reason, ordinarily, these individuals would give up their stranglehold, their ability to crush Palestinians one by one and give the issue of aid in the hands of someone else? Do you think that they're doing it because they're good people? Are they like, you know what, we've done enough genocide. Instead of us distributing this aid, we'll give it to an American organization. You and I, followers of Hussein, salamullahi alayhi, we cannot be so naive. The rest of the world can be so naive. They may never ask certain basic fundamental questions, but you and I cannot be like that. Do you know why? There's 2 reasons. One, these American contractors, they are not contractors in the sense that they are charity workers. They are individuals who are mercenaries. I don't mean mercenaries in the sense that they're going to ask for double and triple the pay. I mean they're literally mercenaries. Do you know what their job is? Their job is to create factions in Gaza. Find out whom are the factions in Gaza, the ones that are against the resistance, the ones that will be neutral to Israel and America, and fund them one by one by one. Did you not see only last week or maybe 2 weeks ago that there were a number of people from Gaza who were caught working with America and trying to overthrow the resistance from within Gaza? How did these people who have been starved for 2 years all of a sudden find themselves with weapons and food and money? The same way Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan used to buy the Shia one by one, used to give money to muhaddithin to be able to create fictitious hadith. Do you not understand that this organization is not there just to gun down people in their 20s and in their 50s and in their 70s? But this is a mercenary group that is there to try to create a fracture within the Gazan society. Today you can go and read this. If you want, just Google it. Go to the Financial Times today. No, yesterday. 4th of July was yesterday? Go to the Financial Times, the ft.com. Go to yesterday's news on Gaza, on this organization. These are not my words. I'm not sitting here telling you a conspiracy theory. You can read it in the Financial Times yesterday, 4th of July, that this organization, do you know the second thing that it's supposed to be doing? It is working out how much per person they might take as a bribe in order to be able to leave Gaza so they can complete their ethnic cleansing. And do you know what they've proposed? This is the FT, the Financial Times, yesterday said that this organization has come up with the figure that if they want to be able to move 500,000 people from Gaza out, they think that they can do it by paying them $9,000 per person. That's their estimation. Nothing you see has the veneer of truth. All of these different companies and institutions are there to blind you from the reality. And if we fall for it today, we would have been like those who fell for it 1400 years ago. If my mind is so easily convinced by these people after everything I know about them, if we were sitting there during the times of Muawiyah and Yazid and Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad and Umar ibn Sa'ad, and they made a statement to us, and after everything we knew about these people, that they are not trustworthy, that they are there to completely destroy humanity and mine in your mind, and we still fell for them, then we would be the ones in complete and utter loss. And it is no different to today, the extent of the manipulation that is upon me and you. We mentioned this hadith on a previous night from our 8th holy Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Rida, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. لم يخنك الأمين ولكن ائتمنت الخائن. The Ameen, the trustworthy individual, will never betray you. But you put your trust in the betrayer. Everything that comes from these people is a lie and is there to manipulate you. Every single thing. And the same way me and you would hope never to fall for that Yazid's plot, that Imam would have to come in front of me and you and say, if you don't have deen and you don't even fear the consequences of your actions, at least be free in your world. At least don't be deceived by the way in which this world is trying to grab you. Can there be a more important lesson for me and you than this in the times in which me and you are living in? Or for the rest of the world, to break free of those manipulations. At the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, the Prophet had to enact that change on people's thinking in every single moment to help them one by one break free of those shackles, the ways in which they had grown up and thought that life ought to be. I mentioned to you the cruelty of these individuals, burying their daughters alive, prostituting out their own female family members, systematically gazumping the property of orphans. Everything you can imagine, I want you to imagine to its nth degree. Let me give you one narration. And if you understand this, you will see how the Prophet in every opportunity had to awaken them to the opposite by which they were living. They previously had normalized cruelty. They had previously normalized evil. They had previously completely allowed themselves to be overcome by every type of oppression and exploitation. How do you break a people out of this to move them to the other extreme where their life is governed by compassion, governed by generosity, governed by care for one another? The Prophet in every moment had to live these examples and one by one break the shackles that were over them. Once the Prophet was in Masjid Nabawi leading a Salatul Jama'ah. You know how many thousands of people maybe must have been behind the Prophet in a Salatul Jama'ah. During that Salatul Jama'ah, there was a baby that was crying. The Prophet quickened his prayer in order to be able to complete it as soon as possible. Like you can imagine, normally the Prophet, let's say in his sajda, Subhanallah, 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 Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. Can you imagine the Prophet's prayer deep in praising God? All of a sudden, Subhanallah, up. Astaghfirullah, Subhanallah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la wa ashhadu anna Muhammad, as quickly as possible. As soon as he finished this salah, people came to him. They said, Ya Rasulullah, what news has come from revelation? What ayah of the Quran has come from Jibreel Amin that made you hasten and finish your salah so quickly? The Prophet said, no. Didn't you hear the crying of one child? The crying of one child hurt the Prophet so much that he quickened his salah in order to finish it so that someone would pick up that child and just pat the child on the back or hold them close to his chest and say, everything is okay. What happened? Did you get hurt? Do you need anything? This was the compassion of the Prophet, and through examples like this, he broke their ways of thinking and once again put compassion into a civilization. What then had to happen after only 50 years, when the very same Muslims could see a 6-month-old baby being raised aloft? And he says, if I have committed some crime against you, then tell me, what has this 6-month-old baby done to you? I want you to imagine Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam standing outside that tent. And I want you to imagine him calling out, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, who is there to come to our aid? The narration says that when Hussein alayhi salam made that call, the enemies from the other side realized that the Imam felt so alone that he was raising his voice to ask, is there anyone here who will come and defend us? That the opposition began chanting and clapping in celebration at the victory that they felt that they had. Do you know what happened? The ladies inside the tent began to cry and wail. Maybe they thought to themselves that that cheer had meant that Hussein himself had been slaughtered. Upon hearing the ladies crying and weeping, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam went back into the tents. Do you know what he saw? He saw the ladies passing Ali al-Asghar to one and other between themselves. Do you know why the ladies were passing Ali al-Asghar between themselves one by one? It was because Ali al-Asghar was crying so much. None of the women had the ability to stop Asghar from crying. When you see a baby crying, everyone wants to be able to help that child. One person will pick up the baby and try to pat him or her down. If he doesn't stop crying, another person with mercy will try to take the baby and say, let me try. Inside that tent, all of the women were trying to stop the crying of Ali al-Asghar. If you looked at his eyes had become sunken. The voice of Asghar had become weak. This was the circumstance of Ali al-Asghar at that time. Do you know what Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam did? He said, pass me my son. Maybe it is my opportunity to be able to make this child stop crying. When you hear a child crying, the first thing you want to do is to try to make the child stop crying. When you hear a child crying, the first thing you want to do is try to stop the child from crying and make the child feel comfortable. When you see a child crying, the first thing you want to do is to stop the child from crying and make it comfortable. I want you to ask yourselves that when Hussein said, "Give me my child," he wanted the opportunity to stop that child from crying. Do you know what he says to Zainab? "Wrap this child inside a white cloth so that when we take him out, the sun of Karbala does not hurt this child." I want you to imagine that it is Zainab that hands the child over to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Maybe because he doesn't want the mother Rubab to feel guilty that I was the one who gave my Asghar to Hussein and then my child was slaughtered. Maybe this act was to remove any guilt from the heart of Rubab. Zainab alayhi salam passes that child over, this 6-month-old baby, over towards Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Maybe he covers it with this white cloth and takes it out in front of everyone. He raises the child aloft in front of the enemies and he says to them, "If I have committed some crime against you, then tell me, what has this child's crime been? This child has been crying and screaming throughout the afternoon. Maybe his mother's milk has run dry. Do you not have an ounce of mercy in your hearts?" At this moment, there were a few people that started to make murmurs inside the army of Yazid. They began to turn to one another and realized, what have we become? What have we done that has allowed us to lose our humanity like this? And the more that one of them started to speak, the more that they began collectively to realize the crime that they had been committed. What happens? At this moment, Umar ibn Sa'ad turns towards his master archman Hurmala and says, "Put an end to the sign of Hussein, for if Hussein is allowed to make the men change their positions, then everything will be lost. You have to silence the sign of Hussein." Do you know what he took out? It is said that he took out a 3-pronged arrow. Do you know what they used the 3-pronged arrow for in the history of Arabia? When they wanted to slaughter an animal and its neck was so tough, they used to shoot 3-pronged arrows against those animals. It used to be that if they wanted to slaughter a camel or slaughter a lion, they would take a 3-pronged arrow to the neck of that lion or that camel. I ask you, brothers and sisters, how tough is the neck of a camel and how soft is the neck of a 6-month-old baby? What happened to the humanity of these individuals? I want you to imagine that Sakina is standing by the tents waiting to hear some news about her brother. I want you to imagine Rabab is sitting inside that tent. What hope this mother must have had. But she knows in the heart of hearts that every time someone has gone, they have not come back. But please, how can you do that to my 6-month-old? I still have hope in you.
Hurmala pulls back that arrow. He begins to let it fly. It flies through the air. It strikes the neck of Ali al-Asghar. It cuts him from one side of his neck to the other side of his neck. The arrow pierced him so hard that his body shook. His arms flapped like a bird and his head fell backwards onto the arms of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The blood of Asghar falls upon Hussein. Hussein takes that blood, he throws it to the sky. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, not a single drop of that blood returned to the ground. That was Allah's acceptance of the sacrifice of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. But the tragedy for Hussein is not over. The tragedy of Hussein is not over. Hussein begins to walk back and forth. He walks towards the tents. He stops and says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He turns back towards the killing field. He recites, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. 7 times he goes back and forth, not knowing what to do. One narration says that as he went back the 6th time, he heard a voice from the sky saying, Hussein, there is a mother waiting to hear about her child. Do not make her wait any longer. Hussein goes back towards the tents. Some say that Sakina comes running out. Another says that Imam al-Hussein, he doesn't go into the tents. How does he show this baby's body towards his mother and sister? Do you know what the Imam does? He goes round the back of the tents and he kneels down, and with his sword he begins to dig a grave for his own son. This is the only burial that Hussein does on the 10th of Muharram. Every other one of the companions and every one of the family members, they were either left on the plains of Karbala or they were brought inside the tents. Hussein dug up for the body of Asghar. Do you know why? Some say that they wanted to dig up Asghar and take his body with them to Kufa and Sham. Some say that they wanted to put baby Asghar's head upon the spear like they put Hussein's head upon the spear. In order to protect Asghar from that, he was buried in that place. It is said that Asghar is the only shaheed that was buried twice. Do you know why? Because first he was buried by the hands of Hussein, and then when Sajjad came back to Karbala, he placed the body of Asghar on the broken chest of Abu Abdullah. Fathers, is there anything better in the world than when your child is on your chest? Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah.
हाय वो नाजुक गला 3 दिन से खुश्क था, बढ़ के मौजे तीर ने वो किस कदर जख्मी किया, तर हुई खून से जुबान, तर हुई खून से जुबान, ले सकेगे ना हिचकियाँ, ढूंढती फिरती है मादर, है मेरा असग़र कहाँ, था ये बानों का बयां, किसको दूं अब लोरियां, ढूंढ ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں خون بھرا کرتا تیرا ہائے وہ بھی چھن گیا اب جیوں کس کے سہارے پاس میرے کیا رہا زندگی غیرائے گا عمر بھر ہوں نوخواں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں آ گیا ہے تمہارے سامنے ایک خالی جھولا تصور کرو کربلا میں ہو اس طرح سے رو کہ جیسے ایک بوڑھی ماں اپنے کڑیل جوان کے لاشے پہ روتی ہے سنو مصائب کا بند خالی جھولا دیکھ کر اے میرے نورے نظر آنکھ فریادی ہے میری اور روتا ہے جگر کھو گئے ہو تم کہاں چین پائے کیسے ماں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں یہ تمہارے سامنے شبیہ ہے یہ تمہارے سامنے شبیہ ہے اس 6 ماہ کے بچے کی کہ جس کو اس تیر سے نہر کیا گیا جس سے جانوروں کو مارا جاتا تھا تصور میں لاؤ ذرا اس مادر پہ کیا گزری ہوگی جب اس نے اصغر کا چھدا ہوا گلا دیکھا ہوگا تصور کرو کہ 6 مہینے کے اصغر کا گلا کتنا نازک ہوتا ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں ہائے وہ نازک گلا 3 دن سے خشک تھا بڑھ کے موجے تیر نے وہ کس قدر زخمی کیا تر ہوئے خون سے زبان لے سکے گے نہ ہچکیاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں سنو آخری مصائب کا بند پھر مل کے ماتم کریں گے بی بی ام رباب کیا بیان کرتی ہیں اپنے علی اکبر کے لاشے پر اپنے علی اصغر کے لاشے پر سنو مصائب کا بند کہ میں مسافر شام کی میں مسافر شام کی ختم خد آرام کی قید ہو کر جا رہی ہوں گرد ہے عالم کی اور بندھ چکی ہے رسیاں بندھ چکی ہے رسیاں ہم کہاں اب تم کہاں ڈھونڈتی پھرتی ہے مادر ہے میرا اصغر کہاں یا حسین یا حسین حمزہ بھائی تھوڑا مولا تھوڑا تھوڑا ادھر ہوتے جائیے, نام مولا تھوڑا تھوڑا ادھر ہوتے جائیے, بس دے رہے ہیں, مولا خیر کرے. بسم اللہ بسم اللہ. یا حسین یا حسین, نام مولا بآواز بلند پڑھتے آؤ. بسم اللہ. یا حسین یا حسین, آ جاؤ چاند میرے, تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, مولا پڑھتے آؤ. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. میرے لاڈلے کہاں ہو, میرے لاڈلے کہاں ہو, سینے تمہیں لگاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. شاباش پڑھو پڑھو اونچا اونچا پڑھو. ہائے 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 ہائے. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. بیٹا تمہارا قاتل میرے سامنے کھڑا ہے, جانے کیوں ہنس رہا ہے, چادر بھی لٹ چکی ہے, چادر بھی لٹ چکی ہے, کس طرح منہ چھپاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. تیرے جھولے کو سکینہ رو رو کے چومتی ہے, تجھے گھر میں ڈھونڈتی ہے, تیری موت کی خبر میں, حسین حسین حسین, تیری موت کی خبر میں کیسے اسے سناؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں, اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. آ جاؤ چاند میرے, سنو مصائب کا بند, پھر مل کے ماتم کریں گے. میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں نیزے سے گر رہا ہے ننھا سا سر تمہارا دل روتا ہے ہمارا میرے ہاتھ تو بندھے ہیں میرے ہاتھ تو بندھے ہیں سر کس طرح اٹھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں نیزے سے گر رہا ہے ننھا سا سر تمہارا دل روتا ہے ہمارا میرے ہاتھ تو بندھے ہیں سر کس طرح اٹھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں یہ ہاتھ کسی کے ماتا ہے جناب چاند میرے ہمیں مولا بابا سے بلند پڑے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں جھولے کے ساتھ بیٹا میرے ہاتھ جل گئے ہیں ظالم بھی ہنس رہے ہیں تیری آخری نشانی حسین 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 تیری آخری نشانی ہے کس طرح بچاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس جب رات ہوگی رن میں ہو جائے گا اندھیرا ڈرنا نہیں ہے بیٹا دادی کہیں گی تم سے حسین 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 دادی کہیں گی تم سے آ میں تجھے سلاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں جھولے کے ساتھ بیٹا میرے ہاتھ جل گئے ہیں ظالم بھی ہنس رہے ہیں تیری آخری نشانی تیری آخری نشانی ہے کس طرح بچاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں آ جاؤ چاند میرے تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں، آ جاؤ چاند میرے، تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں. اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں، پڑھتے آؤ. آ جاؤ چاند میرے، تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں. اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں، آ جاؤ چاند میرے، تیری پیاس میں بجھاؤں. اس مجلس کا آخری پرسہ، یہ میرے ہاتھ جڑے ہیں. جتنی تمہارے جسم میں طاقت ہے نا، اتنی زور سے اپنے سینوں پہ ہاتھ مارنا، کیونکہ یہ وہ ارمان ہے، یہ اس بی بی کا ارمان ہے کہ جو اپنے بھائی کے لاشے پہ رو نہیں سکی. روایات میں لکھا ہے کہ بی بی شریکت الحسین نے اپنے بھائی حسین کے لاشے پر اپنے آپ کو ایسے گرایا کہ بی بی منہ کے بل زمین پہ آئی ہے. کیا دیکھتی ہے؟ پتھروں کا ڈھیر ہے اور بھائی دکھائی نہیں دیتا. یہ اس بی بی کا ارمان ہے جو تم پورا کر رہے ہو. اپنے سینوں کو، اپنے بازوؤں کو پیارا نہ کرو، اگلے سال وہی روئے گا جو ہوگا. اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں. ذرا تصور میں لاؤ نا کہ کیا گزری ہوگی، کیا گزری ہوگی بی بی ام رباب پر جب دیکھا ہوگا اپنے اصغر کا چھدا ہوا گلا. بس تصور میں رکھنا اور سینوں پہ ہاتھ مارنا ہے بس. اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں، نیزے سے گر رہا ہے ننھا سا سر تمہارا. نیزے سے گر رہا ہے ننھا سا سر تمہارا. دل روتا ہے ہمارا، میرے ہاتھ تو بندھے ہیں، سر کس طرح اٹھاؤں. اصغر میں تیری ماں ہوں، نیزے سے گر رہا ہے ننھا سا سر تمہارا. دل روتا ہے ہمارا، میرے ہاتھ تو بندھے ہیں. یا حسین، 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 یا حسین.
Brothers and sisters, thank you for your pursa, thank you for your azadari. We will now, inshallah, pray together, Salatul Maghrib and Isha, and the azadari will continue after for the midnight Majlis. So you are welcome to stay, and inshallah, please get ready for your wudu and for your salawat.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله